darling! You have just begun by Dancing Lassie, Chapter 10. Yennefer saunters over towards him and settles gracefully into the seat opposite as though they aren't sworn enemies. The familiar scent of lilacs and gooseberries wafts across the table towards him, girdling his stomach. A glass of wine is almost immediately placed in front of her, and Yaskar's hands itch to grab it and throw it in her face. He grits his teeth, keeps his posture relaxed, and refuses to show her the fear that courses through him whenever she's in his presence. It occurs to him that this is the first time since that room in Rind that they've ever been alone. Normally, Geralt is there to act as a buffer. Jaskier desperately wishes the Witcher were here now. He feels like a turtle missing its protective shell, horrifically vulnerable. The bonds of destiny have pulled us together once more, she comments with a sly smile, taking a sip of her wine. I don't recall inviting you to join me, he answers coolly. Yennefer lets out a snort, carelessly brushing her long dark hair over her shoulder. As if you could stop me. She grins at him, baring her teeth, always the predator. Come now, Jaskier. We're on the same side this time, after all. It's time to leave our quarrels in the past. He wants to snarl at her. He wants to dig his fingers into those violet eyes and hold her and under the water of the nearby river. Quarrel! She wants to call her almost murdering him, sucking all the magic from him, and his justifiable anger ever since a quarrel? He'll show her a quarrel! On what side would that be? Both of us had our choices taken away when Geralt used his stupid wish to bind us to him. We've both been enslaved to him by the djinn, and he kept that from us for years. How are we to trust our feelings towards him when we can't discern what's real and what might have been created by that fucking djinn? Jaskier is stunned. Does she honestly think he'll side with her against Geralt, his Witcher? There has to be a way we can break this, Jaskier. Yennefer stretches out a hand, not to grasp his, she's no fool, but to place it within his reach on the table. Her knuckles are covered in faint, shiny scars. He notices, but doesn't comment on them. We're both powerful, and between us, we have all the knowledge of the mages and the others at hand. We can be free. Ah, he gets it now. She's been unable to break this bond they share with Geralt on her own, and so has sought him out to do it for her. After all, she's experienced firsthand how powerful his family is. This explains why she's being uncharacteristically civil towards him. There's just several issues. I know what I feel for him is real. I don't want to be unbound from him. Yennefer's eyebrows draw together, startled. But you can't know they're real, she explains slowly, as though explaining the matter to a particularly thick toddler. The wish disguises any true feelings we might have. That's the point of the wish. He scowls at her. She doesn't have a clue what she's talking about. You may only have decided to try and fuck him after the wish, which I seriously doubt. I heard about that bath you decided to take with him. But I knew I loved him long before we ever had the misfortune of crossing your path. And perhaps that's the crux of it. Jaskier's feelings didn't change after the djinn bound him to Geralt. There was no rush of instant attraction because the attraction was already there. The burning infatuation of a new love had long since simmered down into deep-rooted intimacy and affection. He hadn't suddenly met Geralt, fallen uncharacteristically in lust with the Wisher, then subsequently discovered that a djinn's spell might be at play. Though Jaskier seriously doubts that Yennefer's feelings have anything to do with the wish. Geralt had presented himself to her in all his muscled glory, offering her two powerful elemental entities to play with, mostly due to his own ignorance. Beauty, strength, and foolishness paired with a strange kind of vulnerability that Jaskier strongly suspects matches the witch's own. How could a woman like Yennefer resist that? What's your turn, bud? I saved your life from that djinn after all. Yennefer sneers at him. All pretense of civility is melting away, their faces turning uglier with each passing remark. And then you almost ended it. Don't play the heroine with me, Yennefer. You only saved me because of your own selfish desire to harness the power I possess for your own ends. Her eyes narrow and the hand she left on the table twitches, even as she tries to prevent herself from curling it into a fist. Don't pretend you're so selfless, Yennefer spits. I've seen you flaunting your power. Wherever you go, people fall over themselves to accommodate you. You smile your smiles, put them under your spell, and you use them, manipulate them, just as I do. Just because I don't deny what I do doesn't make me any worse than you. I don't stab people then try to fuck their friend as they lie dying not 10 feet away. What are you matter about? That I tried to gain your power? Or that the love of your life wanted to fuck me before he even thought of desiring you? Yasuo tries not to flinch. He fails, because that is still a sore point for him. That Geralt seems to have desired Yennefer first makes his shoulders come up defensively as he tries to brush it off, tell himself that it doesn't hurt. The witch has a knack for zeroing in on his vulnerable spots. What makes you mad then? He asks with false sweetness. Cold baths forever, or the knowledge that the thing you were willing to sacrifice everything for will now always remain out of your reach. She slaps him hard. The cool metal of her silver rings catches his cheekbone and drags a cruel red line across his face. How dare you? She seethes, pale and trembling. He cannot find within him an iota of sympathy for her. Do that again, and I will drown you where you stand, he answers coldly. He swipes a hand across his cheek and notes with some detachment that at least she hasn't drawn blood. You made your own bed, Yennefer. His lips curl derisively. So lie in it. You tried to capture a river god. You failed and were punished. You tried to tame an angry djinn and almost killed the three of us in the attempt. Don't cry to me because you don't like the consequences when Geralt tried to save us. I may loathe being bound to you, but I'll not blame him for trying to do what he thought was the right thing. Her expression is schooled, trying to appear in control and unruffled. She raises her wine glass to her lips to take a sip. The next time I see Geralt, she muses, I'm going to fuck him into the mattress and tell you all about it. You can't help it. He laughs. You try that, Yennefer. I'll make sure you have a glass of your favourite wine when you fail. Unfortunately, I won't be able to commiserate with you, as I'll be too busy making love to my witcher. A curl of satisfaction unfurls in his stomach at the sight of her shock. He hadn't planned on revealing that he's seen Geralt since the dragon hunt, but he can't regret it. Not when the witch sits in front of him, glaring at him with what he thinks is just a touch of jealousy. When did you see him? She demands. I heard you left him on that damn mountain. We both walked away from him, as he deserved. Are you so weak that you've gone crawling back to him, begging for scraps of his affection? What can I say? He returns coolly. When a handsome man has spent months tracking me down and stands upon my doorstep, begging for love and forgiveness, I am helpless to deny him. He apologized so nicely for accidentally trapping me to a heinous sorceress. Are you ever going to let that go? She asks in a bar manner. We are both powerful, immortal beings. What's a little stabbing between us? We have nothing but time to spare. We can quarrel, make up, and betray each other in 100 times over. My God, you've never apologized for the crime in the first place. How do you expect me to forgive you when you've never shown any remorse for your actions apart from the fallout that has inconvenienced you? Don't be so naive, Arissa. Creatures like us don't apologize. We don't display our weaknesses so blatantly for others to take advantage of. Yasuo scoffs. If that's your view of the world, no wonder you're so sour. And you're a simpleton. Not all of us grew up with a loving family to protect us. Some of us learned early on what it was like to be shunned simply for being different. We learned that the only person we can rely on, who always has our back, is ourselves. I cannot be sorry for being what the world taught me to be, so do not hold your breath waiting for my apology. Ditch your rose-colored view of the world and learn what it's like for everyone else. Jaskier can feel the heat rise in his cheeks as a new flare of anger licks up his spine. Don't play the terrible childhood card with me! You had a rotten family? Fine! But don't try and use that as an excuse as to why you feel it was perfectly acceptable to torture me with iron, drain me of what I am, almost kill me, and then brush it off as though you'd simply insulted my brother after wanting too many. You want to compare my beginnings? My own grandfather drowned me when I wasn't even an hour old before murdering my mother, his only daughter. I may have grown up with a new family who loved and protected me, but I've never forgotten that moment of going under. The ice-cold water surrounding me as my lungs burned in desperation for air. Silence falls as they stare, seething, at each other, neither willing to give an inch. The moment is only broken by a waitress who comes over to ask if they want a top-up. The girl is obviously tired after a busy day and oblivious to the tension simmering between the two of them. That would be lovely. Yennefer acknowledges the girl with a curt dip of her head, and Jaskier nods his agreement. Yennefer taps the table with her fingers, lips pursed, as she stares over Jaskier's shoulder, contemplating something. When a bottle of the inn's finest wine and 2 new glasses are set down on the table between them, her lips quirk into a wry smile. Was that down to you or me? Jaskier shrugs. Could be either of us, possibly both. I imagine the 2 of us together project quite an atmosphere. He pours the wine, and they drink the first glass silently, not looking at each other. Do you really not care that he bound us to him? That he deceived us? Took away our choice? Jaskier fortifies himself with a second glass of wine. The binding? Easy enough to forgive. I wanted to tie us together before the gin. I am a river god. It's in my nature to seek to bind those I care for to me forever. It's not how I wanted us to be bound, but that was easily fixed when he came to my river. And the deception? She asks sharply. Harder to forgive, he acknowledges, but I love him enough to do so. Think of it this way, Yennefer. The fact that you haven't already forgiven him for it shows at least that a djinn's curse is no match for your will. Her smile displays her clenched teeth. And am I to expect him to be joining us soon? No, we've parted ways for now. He may be imagining it, but he thinks he detects relief in her expression. He has no desire to spend any more time in her company, so he stands up, intending to leave her for the rest of the bottle and head to bed. Jaskier, her voice stops him before he can turn to walk away. Nilfgaard is searching for him. The rumors say he spirited Queen Calanthe's granddaughter out of Cintra while the city burned. The Nilfgaardians want that child, and I dare say it's not for anything either of us would consider pleasant. He is silent, but his silence seems to betray too much, because Yennefer inhales sharply as the pieces of the puzzle she's been trying to figure out slot into place. So, she is Geralt's child's surprise, then. I had wondered. Tell anyone, he threatens, and it's an effort to keep his voice from shaking with fear for Ciri. And I'll make my family seem merciful by comparison. She doesn't acknowledge his threat, but plays with her hair and tugs it while she thinks. I'm guessing he's with her, then. Somewhere hidden and safe, that's good. If Nilfgaard gets hold of him, then there's very little they wouldn't do to make him give her up. Jaskier can't help the shudder that courses through him as he imagines the sort of torture the Nilfgaardians might stoop to if they got his witcher. I'll start some rumors that I saw him on his own as I came through Redania, Yennefer muses, surprising him. Perhaps you might consider mentioning how you last saw him on his own in Aden, or perhaps Temeria. That ought to confuse people enough, initially. He nods curtly, mind still filled with images of dark cells and sharp implements. Good night, Yennefer. He does not bow, as would be polite, but she does not expect that from him. Good night, Jaskier. It is only much later, as he lies in bed unable to sleep and missing the warm body he's grown accustomed to having at his back, that he realizes that by the end of his conversation with Yennefer, he had quite forgotten to be afraid of her.